draftbuzz.com simulator, and I actually really like the look and feel of this. And as you get into it, you'll see it's a bit different, but the positions that players are going at are definitely different on this site than they are what we're used to and what everybody's used to from the PFF simulator. So interesting to see how things shake out in this one. It also offers free trades, which is kind of awesome, but also a little bit annoying at times because every time you come up on the clock, it prompts you with, two or three potential trade offers from, a number of different teams. So not just draft picks either, players included in that. So it's pretty cool. We're going to do 5 rounds tonight and leave it at a randomness of 2. We'll leave trades on using the Rich Hill trade chart, and we'll use the consensus rankings for this. So we'll go ahead and get right into it. Alrighty. So last week we saw what it would be like to trade up if, there was a position of need potentially that would be there. Got a lot of comments on the fact that they do not want to trade up from 25 to end up going up and taking a tackle. I generally would agree with that. And I think if I was going to trade up, it would have to be for either one of the top 2 tackles, which Joe Alt isn't falling, and Olufushanu is, unlikely to fall as far as where we were looking at. And then also, probably one of those 2 corners. I would lean on the Quinyon Mitchell side of things rather than Tyrion Arnold. I'm just a little bit higher on Quinyon Mitchell myself. But let's go ahead and take a look at how things went so far in this first round. A little bit different. Obviously, I've seen a couple of times running this that Drake May's gone before Caleb Williams. We don't expect that to happen. 4 quarterbacks in the first 4 picks. That could well happen, but we'll see. And then a number of receivers off the board here, more tackles, a couple edges, and some corners. So here we are, and our options, start with Johnny Newton, great defensive tackle that could be potentially interesting for the Packers, but that's not exactly where I want to spend our first round. And I want to look at the defensive backs here, which, we see Nate Wiggins, Cooper DeJean. Those are really the 2 that are solid first round values here at this point, and could potentially be interesting for us to take here. But let's look at offensive line as well. And we see really 3 guys that the Packers might consider taking here. 2 of them, obviously, the gigantic tackles from Georgia and Oklahoma, and that's Amarius Mims and Tyler Guyton. And really, Guyton moves extremely well. He is enormous, and somehow with that size, he's still within the general weight threshold that the Packers are looking for. And movement skills are something that they really covet at the tackle position. And Amarius Mims is very much in the same boat, but just has so much less experience. And that's, playing behind some good tackles that they had over in Georgia. I think Broderick Jones was a big one that came out last year. And on top of that, he had a few injuries that kind of kept him out as well this past season as well. And then Graham Barton, the name that so many Packers fans are familiar with at this point. And, almost seems like it's a foregone conclusion. It's either Graham Barton or Cooper DeJean for so many people at this point. And I honestly think the way that I saw this one shaking out, I think we're going to be able to address tackle a little bit later, probably at pick 41. So I'm going to go back here, and Nate Wiggins is an interesting corner, but he is just vastly too small for the Packers to consider drafting. So we're going to go Cooper DeJean out of Iowa here. And I know you're probably all sick of seeing that, but, I think it would be a solid pick. That versatility, he could come in and be a safety net at the corner position, but could also potentially start day 1 as a safety next to Xavier McKinney. So let's review what kind of happened here at the end of the first. So we've got Barton and Mims went right after. A few more corners, a quarterback, Guyton, the last pick of the round, to the Chiefs. And then we've got Darius Robinson, Jerzon Newton, which I don't imagine for a second that he's going to fall out of the first. And we find ourselves back here at 41. So we addressed defensive back with that first pick. Cooper DeJean, a great pick there, I think. Now let's look at the lineman, and the guy that I was really hoping and kind of expecting based on how simulations have went so far with this particular simulator was Kingsley Suamatea. And I think he would be an outstanding pick for the Packers here. Somebody that doesn't need to come in and start right away because we do have good overall depth at the at the tackle position with Rasheed Walker at left tackle and Zach Tom at right tackle. But Kingsley Suamatea could come in, take a year, and then really push for a starting position behind those guys. He's got great size and athleticism, and he's got some things that he can work on. And what better system than the Packers system to develop that in a guy who, has just got good pedigree overall. So we're going to go ahead and take Kingsley Suamatea here and see where things go between 41 and 58 when we're up next on the board. And at 58, I'm really going to probably look heavily at linebacker here. I don't know if it's the consensus rankings within NFLDraftBuzz.com or what exactly it is, but their rankings for linebacker are a bit off from what I'm used to. And you see here, there's already a couple linebackers off the board. So Edgerrin Cooper went to the Eagles in this one. They had Chris Braswell actually ranked as their linebacker 1 overall. So there's a couple guys that came off the board before even Peyton Wilson and Junior Colson. So I think for me, if Peyton Wilson is there at 58, that is a slam dunk because of the fact that the upside is so high for him compared to, the floor. And at a spot like 58, I think you can justify taking that risk on a guy, especially when you have already had a second round pick before that you can cash in on. So take a little bit of a risk on his injuries, which I've spoken about in past mock drafts. I'm not saying it's, water under the bridge, but it is one of those things that it's been a little while since he's had a serious injury. And, knock on wood, hopefully that doesn't mean that one's, on the horizon, but it's not like he's had, numerous seasons back to back where he's had injuries recently. It's been, I believe, 2 years removed since his shoulder injury. And it was a year before that he had his ACL, or I believe there's actually a year in between ACL and shoulder injury. So it's not like he's terribly injury prone, but big risk. I'm still taking the chance here, though, with Peyton Wilson. One of the things I actually really like about this particular simulator, too, is this team console side on the right, where you can actually see who you've picked. Doing this a number of times, it's easy to kind of let things slip, and you like, what position did I take before? And you have to scroll all the way to the top. It's a little bit annoying, but really, really nice to have that at a moment's notice. And speaking of which, if you are just joining us now, Cooper DeJean in that first round at pick 25. We haven't traded or made any moves yet. Pick 41, Kingsley Suamatea, tackle out of BYU. And then our second round pick, linebacker Peyton Wilson from North Carolina State. And we're back up at pick 88 now. And this is a spot that I would typically look either interior offensive line or potentially safety again. And this is well beyond where I really expect him to go. But if I saw Javon Bullard on the board here at this spot at pick 88, I'm running that pick in immediately. I'm not even going to look at the other picks. We've got, a couple picks between here and 91, so I'm not going to miss anything too big, I don't imagine. But I'm going to just go ahead and take Javon Bullard here. One of the things that really jumped out to me was watching Move to Six podcast when they had Trevor Sikkema from PFF on, and Daniel Jeremiah told a story about Javon Bullard during the combine. One of the interviews, the scouts asked him about a particular play, and then he went back and listed everything that happened for plays leading up to that play that set the situation for that particular play. And just that kind of football intelligence and that recall that he had, that attention to detail, I think is really something that the Packers would absolutely love. And I've been waiting for a chance to mock him to the Packers. And I would be thrilled to see him at pick 88. So let's take a look at what people are trading or offering for a trade here at 91. So the Jets with a cornerback, not interested. Jonathan Jones, interesting. I'm still not going to go for a player trade. Carolina moved back from 91 to 101. Um, pick up a couple more late round picks. Not that we need any more picks with 11 picks overall. So I'm going to go past that and take a look at what else there is. So defensive line or edge is another interesting spot. Adisa Isaac, I can't imagine is here at 91. Might be somebody to come back and look at here. Interior offensive line. Let's take a look there. Zach Zinter, rather, a guy that the Packers have brought in for a top 30 visit. Interesting potential pick there. Shore up some of that interior offensive line and give some depth behind the, Elton Jenkins and Sean Ryan there. Also look at running back around here as well. And Bucky Irving, maybe. Audric Estime did run better at his pro day. Got a couple guys that are interesting down here. Will Shipley, Isaac Garenda, really interesting as just a physical specimen, not somebody that has produced particularly well. So some question marks there. Let's go ahead and we'll go back to defensive line or edge here. And, with a guy like Adisa Isaac being here, he's still a little bit smaller than what the Packers typically go for at the edge position, but he's got a good pass rush skill set. And actually, like doing some tape and reviewing things on Olu Fashanu, he had great things to say about Adisa Isaac, more so even than he did about Chop Robinson, who is more highly touted in this draft season. But Chop Robinson is more of that pure speed guy that he hasn't refined his skill set as much yet. But Adisa Isaac, from seeing an interview with Fashanu, had nothing but great things to say about his teammate there. And I think that's going to be our pick here at pick 91. All right, so let's recap while we're getting up to pick 126 here. Cooper DeJean in the first, Kingsley Suamatea in the second round pick, Peyton Wilson, linebacker from North Carolina State, Javon Bullard, the safety out of Georgia here at pick 88, and then pick 91, Adisa Isaac, the edge out of Penn State. So overall, shaping up to be a really nice draft so far, and really can't complain about how things are going here. All right, here we are at pick 126. And so running back is a good spot to take a look at here. A number of those guys went. Dylan Lobe is still interesting guy here as well, on top of Isaac Garendo. I wonder, let's see. After 126, it's 169. We got two more picks left in this mock. Let's see what else we've got out here. So safety is a spot that would be pretty nice to double up at, though really with DeJean, you almost kind of have already. Cam Hart is an interesting cornerback, could be a spot where we might be interested in a corner as well, because you can never have too many of them. And Cam Hart has outstanding length that really, his length and his athleticism aren't something that I don't think the Packers have a particular wealth of at the cornerback position. So that's something we can look at. Haven't gone interior offensive line yet either. And see Bo Limmer is on the board here. Interesting pick, potential center. And let's take a look. Mason McCormick's a bit further down. Fourth round is about the range I would consider going for a receiver as well. I expect the Packers to be in that kind of market. Let's see. I'm going to go back and take a look at linebacker as well. Watson is a guy to watch later on, probably past where we're going to actually draft in this particular pick. So let's go ahead and, where was I at? I was looking at cornerback. I'm going to go Cam Hart here. Just add to that defensive back room. Really give all of the puzzle pieces to Jeff Hafley to go out and, shape that room into his image of what the Packers secondary should look like. So, couple of cornerbacks in this draft, a safety, an edge, a linebacker, and one offensive tackle. Very, very defense heavy. And I wouldn't be terribly surprised if, the first 2 days of the draft, maybe even the first 4 rounds, really are, 3-1 on the defense to offensive side. Maybe we're a little bit heavy on the offense at this point through this draft, or on the defense rather. But I mean, I think it's good, and I think that's obviously the position where we need to address the most, just from an overall group perspective, and bringing in a new defensive coordinator and changing really our system is something that I think might drive some of that need for defensive capital in this draft. So let's go look at receiver. Would have loved to see Luke McCaffrey fall to here. Didn't end up happening. And so I'm not too keen on going that route again. Interior offensive line. He also went. I would have loved McCormick here. And at this point, I guess what I'm going to do is I'm going to go running back, and I'm going to go Dylan Loeb and close out this mock draft there with a running back, which I really should have closed out last week's draft with, because definitely a position of need rather than doubling up at safety there. But let's just real quick recap what this draft looks like. And to this point, we've got pick 25, Cooper DeJean. Pick 41, excuse me, Kingsley Suamate, tackle from BYU. Linebacker Peyton Wilson from North Carolina State. Javon Bullard at pick 88 from Georgia. Adisa Isaac, the edge from Penn State at 91. Pick 126, another corner, Cam Hart from Notre Dame. And then pick 169, fifth round pick for the Packers, running back Dylan Loeb. And I think this would be a very satisfying draft if this is the way that the first few rounds shook out for the Packers. Let me know, though, what do you think? Where did I miss? What prospect did I overlook or pass up that was on the board at any of these picks along the way? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll make sure to keep more of an eye on that player as we go into these subsequent mock drafts. We've got, a couple weeks left until the NFL draft now. 3 weeks from tonight, the draft will be happening. So got 2 more midweek mocks to go, and then we'll go through a final mock the week leading up to the NFL draft. But like I said, let me know what you think. Let me know who I didn't give enough credence to, and we'll see you next week next week Wednesday. I'll be traveling next Thursday. Next week Wednesday at 9:15 p.m. for another midweek mock.